Money boy in the building. How y'all doing today? I hope y'all feeling like me. Because once again, I'm feeling amazing. Well, let me start off by saying this. Everything that I do is for fun and games, informational, entertainment, educational purposes only. I do this because I want to. You do this because you want to, not because somebody told you to. And with that being said, I know my rights, and all my rights are reserved. Now, let's get to the nitty grit, people. Let's get to the nitty grit. That's down to the dirty, but check this. I got some nuggets right here for y'all. Sit back and listen to this.
Notice and warning to highway police enforcers. You are not authorized to proceed. You are interacting with political power holder and you are not authorized to continue. Agreement. By proceeding against notice, you agree to testify under full commercial liability and oath of office or for the public record before a jury that you and associated parties are proceeding lawfully and that you fully understand the nature of your actions under state uniform DMV commercial codes, common law, and international admiralty, maritime law. This notice of warning for violations is hereby submitted upon demand of a driver's license, registration or proof of insurance, and therefore is part of the official record of any ensuing action and must be introduced as evidence in said action. It is noted that willful suppression of evidence is a felony. Any cause for action may result in administrative UCC remedy and even action at law. Notice to officers, agents of the United States. This document is not intended to harass, intimidate, offend, conspire, blackmail, coerce, cause anxiety, alarm, contempt or distress, or impede any public duties. IT is presented with honorable and peaceful intentions and is only stating the true facts and is a safeguard to protect my natural being from the abuse of any public official. Any affirmation contrary to this verified statement of facts will comprise your stipulation to committing a fraud upon the court. After being served with this notice, 1. Honorably and peacefully return to your vehicle and read this notice in its entirety. Take notice of the fee schedule herein for detainment and delay of the sovereign and secured party. 2. Seek counsel from a superior official if you do not understand or believe what is being stated here. Contact your lieutenant right way before proceeding. 3. Any and all commercial statutory officials that become involved will be considered a party to the action and become a liable debtor as same subject to everything herein to the secured party you are detaining. 4. Fill out the officer notification section at the bottom of this notice providing badge number, name, precinct, lieutenant, and a personal address where creditor may invoice the debtor. 5. Return these documents, private property, in good order to the secured party you are detaining at once. 6. Leave the presence of the secured party at once. 7. Allow the secured party safe passage and free non-commercial travel without further delay. 8. Receive honor and be at peace. I, the sovereign natural, flesh and blood man, do not grant permission or consent for you to interact with, detain or delay me in any way. I will be honorable towards you, and I will not provide, show or disclose, provide any private information such as name or birth date. Any state licenses, ID cards, automobile insurance papers, as is my right under common law jurisdiction. Notice to the private man operating as a JURISTIC police officer. I present this notice to you in peace and I recognize that you are also a man who abides by common law. I realize that you are just doing your job as a commercial public office holder. However, it is imperative that sovereign free men give lawful and proper notice that we will not allow public officers to trespass illegally on our God-given common law rights. I honor you as a natural man, and I do not wish to contract with you in any way and do not grant you the permission you lawfully require to proceed with any commercial contract. If I am forced to do anything against my will, it will be considered an action under duress and protest which has full remedy at once at law. It is my understanding that intelligent peace officers have a duty to distinguish between statutes and law, and those WHO attempt to enforce statutes against a freeman on the land are in fact breaking the law. I have the authority, lawful right, and power to refuse all interaction with peace officers. WHO have not observed me breach the peace, whereas permanent estoppel by acquiescence barring any peace officer or prosecutor from bringing charges against a freeman on the land under any ACT created by AFICTICOUS body. Notice of administrative UCC remedy. This is actual and constructive notice that you are not to violate the prerogative rights of this sovereign, natural, and free man secured party by detaining him. Please assist in his passage without delay. Any violation of his sovereign rights, at law, will be remedied through administrative UCC remedy at law for trespass on rights. You are a public servant subject to the sovereign. A sovereign, free man and flesh and blood being and secured party cannot possibly be, and is not subject to DMB statutory uniform commercial codes, etc. Common law notice of right to travel without regulation. The use of the highway for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a privilege but a common and fundamental right of which the public and individuals cannot rightfully be deprived. Chicago Motor Coach v. Chicago, 337 E.200, 169 Nay 22, 66 ALR LRST, Highways, Sec. 163 in Parameteria. I am not in any jurisdiction, for I am not of subject status. If you proceed, you are committing an action under global and universal restraint by which you are bound. Be it known to all who call themselves police officers, government, their courts, agents, corporations, and other parties, that I am a natural, freeborn sovereign individual, without subjects. I am neither subject to any entity anywhere, nor is any entity subject to me. I neither dominate anyone, nor am I dominated. I may voluntarily choose to comply with the statutes which others attempt to impose upon me, but no such statutes or their enforcers have any authority over me. Jurisdiction and any corporate statutory UCC codes, papers, services, benefits, summons, warrants, contracts, use of physical force, arrest attempts, incarcerations, or other action on your part is not authorized or permitted under jurisdictional mandates and will be considered an international crime under Global Uniform Commercial JURISDITION, which is the law that binds corporate persons and office holders only. Unless I have willfully harmed someone or someone's property without their consent and there is a witness to an alleged crime, you have no authority, right or business for pulling me aside, trespassing or interacting with me in any way, especially under duress and protest. Unless I, the natural and flesh and blood man, am operating in ADMIRLTY, maritime commerce, you have no jurisdiction and are committing an international UCC crime. I am not engaged in operating a motor vehicle used for commercial purposes, and am engaged in public vehicular travel. I have not breached the peace, or committed any crime, and am therefore not subject to any further delay or penalty, and demand that you leave my presence at once in peace. You only have jurisdiction over fictional corporate entities conducting commerce, and you cannot contract in any way with a flesh and blood distinction and sovereign, creditor and secured party. I am a sovereign private, non-resident, non-domestic, non-person, and non-individual, not subject to any real or imaginary statutory regulations or quasi-laws enacted by any state legislature which was created by the people. You cannot lawfully cite me as a sovereign because your state legislature can only regulate what they create and the state does not create sovereign political power holders. You can only interact with a particular office known as person. I am not a state person, and you are not authorized lawfully to regulate or interact with me as a private man in any way. The United States of America is a common law jurisdiction of free men and women. I am not a United States citizen. I am not a resident of an inhabitant of, a franchise of, a subject of, a ward of, the property of, the chattel of, or subject to the jurisdiction of, any monarch, or any corporate commonwealth, Congress, federal, state, territory, county, council, city, municipal body politic, or other government, allegedly created, under the authority of a constitution, or other enactment. I am not subject to any legislation, department, or agency created by such authorities, nor to the jurisdiction of any employees, officers, or agents deriving their authority therefrom. I do not hold any position or office where I am subject to the legislature. I do not need permission, license, or insurance to travel freely in my automobile. I am not receipt of any evidence or document that says I am required to have a driver's license or permission to travel freely, show such proof of permission, and since no notice is given to people applying for a driver's or other license that they already have a perfect right to use the roads without any permission, and that they surrender valuable rights by taking on the regulation system of licensure, the state has committed a massive construction fraud. The license, being a legal contract under which the state is empowered with policing powers, is only valid when the licensee takes on the burdens of the contract and bargains away his or her rights knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily. A driver's license is a contract without which the police are powerless to regulate the people's actions or activities. Few, if any, licensees intentionally surrender valuable rights. They are told that they must have the license. This is not true at all, and is statutory fraud. No one in their right mind voluntarily surrenders complete liberty and accepts in its place a set of regulations. According to law, I do not need a license, tag, registration, or insurance to use my private automobile on the public roads and highways, and you are breaking the law as by interacting with my natural being in regards to your statutory commercial policies. I have not committed any crime under common law, and am therefore not subject The government-created alternate corporate fictional, uppercase name on a driving license is not a living soul, and you holding public office are a corporate entity without a living soul which cannot possibly interact with the living soul and secure party and agent, so I will be on my way in peace. I, the sovereign secured party and creditor, have lawful authority to use the debtor as transmitting utility and rightful and lawful activities such as operating an automobile for free travel, without permission from any and government officials including policy enforcers, peace officers, illegal government agents, sheriffs, judges, and state troopers. Legal fictions such as the entity in public office referred to as police officer, or state trooper, judge, or constable, etc., lack a soul and cannot exert any police powers over those who are blessed and operate with respect to that knowledge as only a fool would allow soulless fictions to dictate one's actions, and I have a right to travel freely without having to have permission or pay for the use or enjoyment of it. Fee schedule. There is a $2,000 per hour fee, billable to all offending parties for any and all violations mentioned herein by any legislative authority towards my natural peace officers, state troopers, detectives, martial lawmen, terrorists, antagonists, militia, police powers, government principals, agents or justice system participants is $2,000 per hour, or portion thereof if being questioned, interrogated or in any way detained, harassed or otherwise regulated, and $20,000 per hour, or portion thereof if I am handcuffed, transported, incarcerated or subjected to any adjudication process without my express written and notarized consent. Furthermore, I claim the right to use a notary public to secure payment of the aforementioned fee schedule against any transgressors who by their actions or omissions harm me or my interests, directly or by proxy in any way. Notice: using a fee schedule to lawfully collect damages does not constitute operating in commerce. Notice and warning of lack of jurisdiction. I have not been presented with any evidence or documentation under common law that allows you to have jurisdiction over me, the sovereign natural man. You are under international admiralty, maritime jurisdiction, and you are illegally operating and acting under another jurisdiction. Uniform commercial statutory jurisdiction against myself, the sovereign natural and free man with sovereign immunity in both illegal jurisdictions. As I abide firmly under divine and sovereign common law jurisdiction and have lawfully preserved all my rights therein, you are held at estoppal and void of all authority of any sort at this time, and you cannot proceed in any way. Admiralty, maritime or alleged statutory jurisdiction does not apply to my sovereign natural and free man. The name on any driving instrument, or any commercial contract, is not my name. It is the name of a government-created fictitious corporate body set in uppercase letters to resemble my name without my consent or conscious knowledge. This fact alone makes it a unilateral, worthless, deceptive contract, void and unenforceable. Using it to drive is not necessary by law and does not cause a joinder of contract between your office as a fiction. I am established as the sovereign secure party and agent for this alternate government-created identity. I have filed to revoke the illegal use of the corporate fiction's social security number, and all other permits, licenses and contracts issued for ill commercial gain by any government, corporate body or other agency. All compelled government benefits regarding the sovereign natural and free man have been waived by me, including all licenses, permits, government services, and other so-called benefits. The secured party has no liability to any corporate or government body and is not subject to the same. My UCC-1 financing statement and its attached documentation is an international standing contract which cannot be breached, overridden or impeded by anyone, anywhere, anytime. My natural real non-corporate name is under a copyright notice, and anyone using it illegally or without my permission is liable for copyright infringement and severe penalty. The fee schedule claimed for any use of my natural copywritten name is $1 million per incident and is also collectible by notary and subject to further collection efforts and credit reporting for non-payment. I have never been, am currently not, or will never be liable for this fictitious entity's debts, matters or affairs, including DMV or commercial highway police matters, and there is no matter in regard to me as the two identities are different. The uppercase fictional entity is a fictitious government-created corporation set up for government use, and I am a natural and free man domicile on the land of continental America, non-resident, non-domestic, and a living soul not created by any fictional corporate body or government, and not subject to its control, Congress, for-profit legislative or man-made for-profit UCC code racketeering. I have sovereign immunity, am free from control, and I live and abide fully by the common law, the only law, which is God's law. I have full lawful right, not granted privilege, to travel freely in any manner, and by any type of conveyance, without permission, licenses, tags, insurance, statutory rules, harassment or interaction by any police enforcers, freely in any city, county, state, federal, and global jurisdiction you can name. I have sovereign rights and as a natural and free man of the land, all rights for managing, maneuvering, directing, guiding, driving, and traveling in any form of motorized conveyance whatsoever, e.g. automobile, truck, motorcycle, and the like, without any requirement for applying for and without the obligation for obtaining any government license, permit, certificate, permission, and the like of any kind whatsoever. I have the right of movement, the right of moving myself from place to place without threat of imprisonment, the right to use the public roads in the ordinary course of life with permission from any entity whatsoever. When the state allows the formation of a corporation, it may control its creation by establishing guidelines, statutes, written code, and not law for its operation, charters, or persons. Corporations who use the roads in the course of business do not use the roads in the ordinary course of life. There is a difference between a corporation and an individual. The forgotten legal maxim is that free people have a right to travel on the roads which are provided by their servants for that purpose, using ordinary transportation of the day. Licensing to travel and all other licenses cannot be required of free people, because taking on the restrictions of a license requires the surrender of a right. The driver's license can be required of people who use the highways for trade, commerce, or hire. That is, if they earn their living on the road, and if they use extraordinary machines on the roads. This is of no concern to me. If I am not using the highways for profit, I cannot be required to have a driver's license, insurance, registrations, or tags. Definitions of terms is defined and used in the commercial statutes that created the vehicle code. If the correct application of the statute in question is not clear or understood, here is an exact legal and factual definition of the terms used in connection with this point of law. These terms do not, in their legal context, mean what some assume they mean, thus resulting in the misapplication of statutes in their instant use, as is the case at the moment. Automobile and motor vehicle. There is a clear distinction between an automobile and a motor vehicle. An automobile has been defined as: the word automobile connotes a pleasure vehicle designed for the transportation of persons on highways. American Mutual Liability Ins. Co. versus Chapu, 68 2D 118, 120. 95 NH 200. While the distinction is made clear between the two, as the courts have stated, a motor vehicle or automobile for hire is a motor vehicle, other than an automobile stage, used for the transportation of persons for which remuneration is received. International Motor Transit Co. versus Seattle 251p. 120. The term motor vehicle is different and broader than the word automobile. Semicolon. City of Dayton versus Debris 23 Nay 2D 647 650. 62 Ohio App. 232. The distinction is made very clear in Title 18 U.S.C. 31. Motor vehicle means every description or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways in the transportation of passengers or passengers and property. Used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other considerations, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. Legal fact. An automobile is private property in use for private purposes, while a motor vehicle is a machine which may be used upon the highways for trade, commerce, or hire. My car is an automobile. My automobile is my private property and I can use it for free private travel without permission. This is a right and not a privileged. Travel. The term travel is a significant term and is defined as: the term travel and traveler are usually construed in their broad and general sense, so as to include all those who rightfully use the highways viatically, when being reimbursed for expenses, and who have occasion to pass over them for the purpose of business, convenience, or pleasure. Emphasis added, 25 M. Ur. First, highways, sec.427, p.717. Traveler, one who passes from place to place, whether for pleasure, instruction, business, or health. Lockett versus State 47 Allah. 45. Bovier's Law Dictionary, 1914 ed. p. 3309. Travel. To journey or to pass through or over. As a country district, road, etc. To go from one place to another, whether on foot, or horseback, or in any conveyance as a train, an automobile, carriage, ship, or aircraft. Make a journey. Century Dictionary, p.2034. Therefore, the term travel or traveler refers to one who uses a conveyance to go from one place to another, and included all those who use the highways as a matter of right. Notice that in all these definitions the phrase for hire never occurs. This term, travel or traveler, implies by definition one who uses the road as a means to move from one place to another. Therefore, one who uses the road in the ordinary course of life and business for the purpose of travel and transportation is a traveler, and traveling is a right and not a privilege needing permission. Legal fact. I am a traveler traveling in my private automobile, which is a right and not a privilegeing legislative state permission. Driver. The term driver, in contradistinction to traveler, is defined as driver one employed in conducting a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle. Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1914 ed. p. 940. Notice that this definition includes one who is employed in conducting a vehicle. It should be self-evident that this person could not be traveling on a journey, but is using the road as a place of business. Legal fact. I am not in possession of any evidence that I am a driver by legal and statutory definition. I am not in possession of any evidence that I am conducting commerce on the highway. I am not a driver, which is a commercial and corporate entity by your definition. Operator. Today we assume that a traveler is a driver, and a driver is an operator. However, this is not the case. It will be observed from the language of the ordinance that a distinction is to be drawn between the terms operator and driver. The operator of the service car being the person who is licensed to have the car on the streets in the business of carrying passengers for hire, while the driver is the one who actually drives the car. However, in the actual prosecution of business, it was possible for the same person to be both operator and driver. New Bill versus Union Indemnity Co., 60 SE 2D 658. To further clarify the definition of an operator, the court observed that this was a vehicle for hire, and that it was in the business of carrying passengers. This definition would seem to describe a person who is using the road as a place of business, or in other words, a person engaged in the privilege of using the road for gain. This definition, then, is a further clarification of the distinction mentioned earlier, and therefore, traveling upon and transporting one's property upon the public roads as a matter of right meets the definition of a traveler. Using the road as a place of business as a matter of privilege meets the definition of a driver or an operator, or both. Legal fact. An operator operates in commerce, licensed for hire. I am not an operator of any motor vehicle. Traffic. Having defined the terms automobile, motor vehicle, traveler, driver, and operator, the next term to define is traffic. Quote, Traffic thereon is to some extent destructive, therefore, the prevention of unnecessary duplication of auto transportation service will lengthen the life of the highways or reduce the cost of maintenance. The revenue derived by the state will also tend toward the public welfare by producing at the expense of those operating for private gain some small part of the cost of repairing the wear. Northern Pacific R.R. Co. versus Schoenfeld 213 p. 26. Note. In the above, Justice Tallman expounded upon the key of raising revenue by taxing the privilege to use the public roads at the expense of those operating for gain. In this case, the word traffic is used in conjunction with the unnecessary auto transportation service, or in other words, vehicles for hire. The word traffic is another word which is to be strictly construed to the conducting of business. Traffic, commerce, trade, sale or exchange of merchandise, bills, money, or the like. The passing of goods and commodities from one person to another for an equivalent in goods or money. Semicolon. Bowier's Law Dictionary, 1914 ed. p. 3307. Here again, notice that this definition refers to one conducting business. No mention is made of one who is traveling in his automobile. This definition is of one who is engaged in the passing of a commodity or goods in exchange for money, i.e., vehicles for hire. Furthermore, the word traffic and travel must have different meanings which the courts recognize. The difference is recognized in ex parte dicey, supra. In addition to this, cabs, hackney coaches, omnibuses, taxicabs, and hacks, when unnecessarily numerous, interfere with the ordinary traffic and travel and obstruct them. The court, by using both terms, signified its recognition of a distinction between the two. But what was the distinction? We have already defined both terms, but to clear up any doubt, the word traffic is manifestly used here in secondary sense and has reference to the business of transportation rather than to its primary meaning of interchange of commodities. Allen versus City of Bellingham, 163 p. 18. Here the Supreme Court of the State of Washington has defined the word traffic in either its primary or secondary sense, in reference to business, and not to mere travel. So it is clear that the term traffic is business related and therefore it is a privilege. The net result being that traffic is brought under the police power of the legislature. Legal fact. To be in traffic means to be in operating in commerce and is a CONDSIDEREDAPRIVELEDGE under statutory code. I am a traveler and not operating in the traffic of commerce. Summary of the facts of HIGWAY terms. Police officers, commercial policy enforcers, state troopers, the DMV, and related agencies only have power to regulate, have authority and jurisdiction over, but are limited to regulating commercial traffic only on the streets, roads and highways and other places of travel. The police have no jurisdiction whatsoever over a free sovereign man traveling privately in an automobile on any street, road, highway and other place of travel. Furthermore, no permission is needed to travel freely, including a driver's license, permit, picture ID, registration, tags, or insurance. These facts are clear under state uniform commercial codes regulating DMV and police powers over the HIGWAYS, and most peace officers and other officials don't realize they are party to severe criminal acts against free men and women of continental America. Unless you provide proof of my obligation to have a license, permit, registration, tag or insurance to travel non-commercially, and provide proof of your jurisdiction over a flesh and blood being, and provide proper rebuttal for the required proof of claims listed below, then I advise you in honor and peace to cease and desist at once and allow me right of way. Proof of claim required before you proceed. I demand proof of claim that you have the authority or jurisdiction over me as the non-corporate man on the highway or anywhere for that matter. I demand proof of claim that you have been granted consent to conduct any activities such as pulling me over, stopping me, detaining me, delaying me, harassing me, causing duress, making threats, inciting violence, displaying or using deadly weapons or force against myself to get me to enter into a jurisdictional contract with you. I demand proof of claim that I am obligated to apply for or to have a driver's license, tags, insurance, or permission to travel freely on the highways. I am not in receipt of any evidence or document that says I am required to have a driver's license or permission to travel freely. Show such proof of permission. I demand proof of claim that notice was given to myself or anyone applying for driver's or other licenses, permits, or insurances that we already have a perfect right to use the roads without any permission, and that they surrender valuable rights by taking on the regulation system of licensure. The state has committed a massive construction fraud. I demand proof of claim that any of the terms above, used by the DMV and related agencies which refer to commercial activity only on the highway, apply to me as a natural being using the highways to travel freely in the private venue and not for the purpose of commerce. If you cannot provide this proof at once, then you cannot detain, delay, cite, arrest, cause duress, harass my natural being under the codes that all police officers abide by. I demand proof of claim that my true natural identity is the fictitious corporation which you are attempting to interact with illegally, disguised in uppercase letters, including the name on a driver's license which I waived the benefit to use to resemble my name and was or was not created by the government by forgery on a birth certificate without my authorization or knowledge as a secondary alternate fictitious identity for their ill financial gain, and said government did or did not pledge all my life's worth, labor, property and physical body as value and surety for a fictitious national debt by commercially trading this forged birth certificate for no less than approximately $1 million on the World Securities Exchange, giving full ownership of this uppercase commercial corporate fictional body, and all its false value to the corporations, Federal Reserve and World Bank. Prove to me this is not the biggest lie and most heinous crime in history. You are required to prove this for the public record, under perjury and full commercial liability before you even speak to me further. I demand proof of claim that I am or am not a natural and free man of the United States, and you or Congress has any power over me or any non-resident natural man or woman. I do not live in Washington, D.C., Guam, Puerto Rico, or any other federally held and congressionally controlled territory which makes me a citizen of the United States. I am not a citizen of the United States and not subject to Congress. Congress has exclusive rule over a given territory and I am not part of that territory. I am domiciled in as a sovereign territory fully protected from tyranny and all police force by the Constitution, which you have ignored, and free from any direct rule of Congress or other socialist or Marxist government over myself. I demand proof of claim that you or any government official has jurisdiction over me and my property as the sovereign natural free man. The only criminal jurisdiction possibly applicable is Admiralty, Maritime, where there was an international, maritime contract involved. I was a party to it, it had been breached, and the court was operating in an Admiralty jurisdiction. I have never been under any international maritime contract, so I would deny that one exists. I demand that such a contract, if it does exist, be presented to me. If this is not the case, I demand a list of rules of defense for the misleading system of statutory jurisdiction. If there has been a crime committed under common law which must be recognized at UCC 1-103, I demand you bring forth proof the injured party and complaining witness at once. Without prejudice, UCC 1.308, formerly 1.207. I demand proof of claim that I have not waived all benefits of any compelled government contracts or agreements, including all court documents and any contracts or documents in the possession of peace officers, including driver's license, summons, warrants, etc., listing the name of the uppercase corporate fiction, making such contracts void and unenforceable. I demand proof of claim there was full consideration on my part and for my conscious, voluntary, knowledgeable consent. Full intent and authorization of all compelled government contracts or agreements, including all traffic citations, court documents, and any contracts or documents in the possession of peace officers listing the name of the uppercase corporate fiction, where such contracts are void and enforceable. This will include bringing forth an original enforceable commercial corporate contract. I demand proof of claim that I understand the nature of any commercial charge or statutory commercial citation you may present. If civil, it is an equity matter. If criminal, it must fall under international admiralty, maritime or common law jurisdiction. If statutory, codes of commerce for corporations, I demand proof of claim of any hidden or non-disclosed rules of defense under this jurisdiction. I demand proof of claim is brought into evidence that you are moving under common law and bringing your statutes into harmony with such as required under Uniform Commercial Code 1-103.6 in your damaging actions. I demand proof of claim that the United States government has or has not been bankrupt since 1933 and its natural and free men are its debt surety slaves, and enter your finding and statement thereof into the public record. I also demand immediate proof that there is anything existing referred to as money in the United States or any Federal Reserve notes that aren't counterfeit to pay any alleged debt anywhere or used as a payment for goods and services, and that there is substance in place such as precious metals for this money in any form anywhere. I demand proof of claim that you as a statutory police officer, policy enforcer, are not a commercial capturing agent for a fictional government-created United States commercial property, of flesh and blood human bodies, and the illegal arrest thereof that leads to grossly deceptive commercial court cases where the people are coerced and tricked by false contracts, actions, and language into receiving commercial criminal fines and charges, and worst of all having illegal bid bonds, set by the ADMIRLTY court and sent to the United States District Court, then sold in commerce to corporations, and traded on the securities market for thousands and even millions of dollars, while the property or chattel, the flesh and blood bodies, are deposited into warehouses, jails and prisons, under tortuous conditions until the bond matures, and that this whole heinous crime against humanity and be willing to testify to this is not being the truth and nothing but a lie under full personal commercial liability, for the public record. I demand proof of claim that you are, or are not offering me an action of a security interest. If you cannot or do not bring forth all of this proof under a complete AFFIDVIT of truth, then I demand you do not detain or harass me further and do not approach my natural being in any way without my express written and notarized consent, and allow me to go in peace. If you broadcast, send or inquire information using my name or any private information PERTAINGING to myself over a radio, computer or other device, you are infringing on my copyright, invading my privacy and divulging private data to a third party. There is a $1 million OO fee for each infraction and copyright violation. If I COHOOSE to do so, I will also file a default judgment for failure to PROFIBE proofs of claim after this notice, and file a commercial lien against you personally by due process, seizing your land, home, vehicles, all personal property, spouse's personal property, and stop your personal credit at once for a period of 99 years or until I choose to remove the lien. If you cause duress, or damage to me, threaten or injure me in any way, prepare to stand personally liable for it. Any injury by any police enforcer on my natural being will be considered an act of terrorism and brought before the public. Furthermore, I claim that anyone who interferes with my free will and common law activities and rights after having been served this notice and commits such transgressions will be dealt with personally in a proper legal fashion in courts of higher authority. My common law rights and claims. I claim common law jurisdiction, I do not consent, and I waive the benefits. I make valid reservation of common law rights, preserve reservation and prevent the loss of such rights by application of concepts of waiver or estoppel. Without prejudice, UCC 1.308 formerly 1.207. I declare that the government-generated uppercase corporate name, sought for commercial surety or listed on any government or commercial instrument which resembles my name, is not my name or identity, and has been lawfully established as such. I, being the secured party, have established a $15,000.000.00 $15 million lien against the debtor you are referring to and hold first right of claim. I, as the secured party, have filed the UCC-1 financing statement and related documents providing me with sovereign administrative judgment and supreme control of the corporate fiction, ENS Legis, and all of its affairs. I, as sovereign and secured party, am exempt from all levy and seizure of property including my flesh and blood body, and relieved of all liability from the corporate fiction against my natural free man, having full sovereign immunity, and retroactive supreme authoritative powers of nullification of all activities pertaining to this corporate fiction. Any and all claims made against the corporate fiction are null and void and without force and are discharged before commencement. Revocation of power of attorney. I hereby revoke, rescind, cancel, and make void from the beginning all powers of attorney, in fact or otherwise, implied in law, or otherwise, signed either by me or anyone else, as it pertains to any tax file, identification number, and/or social security number, assigned to me, as it pertains to my birth certificate, and as it pertains to any and all other numbers, licenses, certificates, and other instruments issued by any and all government and quasi-governmental departments or agencies due to the use of various elements of fraud by said agencies to attempt to deprive me of my sovereignty and/or property. I hereby waive, cancel, repudiate, and refuse to knowingly accept any alleged benefit or gratuity associated with any of the aforementioned numbers, licenses, certificates, and other instruments. My use of any such numbers, licenses, certificates, or other instruments has been for information purposes only and does not grant any jurisdiction to anyone. I do hereby revoke and rescind all powers of attorney, in fact or otherwise, signed by me or otherwise, implied in law, or otherwise, with or without my consent or knowledge, as it pertains to any and all property, real or personal, corporeal or incorporeal, obtained in the past, present, or future. I am the sole and absolute owner and possess all odial title to any and all such property. Take notice that I also revoke, cancel, and make void from the beginning all powers of attorney, in fact, in presumption, or otherwise, signed either by me or anyone else claiming to act on my behalf, with or without my consent, as such power of attorney pertains to me or any property owned by me, by, but not limited to, any and all quasi-colorable, public, governmental departments, agencies, or corporations on the grounds of constructive fraud, concealment, and non-disclosure of pertinent facts. I affirm that all of the foregoing is true and correct. I affirm that I am competent to make this affidavit. I hereby affix my own signature to all of the affirmations in this entire document with explicit reservation of all my inalienable rights and my specific right not to be bound by any contract or obligation which I have not entered into knowingly, voluntarily, intentionally, and without misrepresentation, duress, or coercion. Notice of damage fee collection process. At my discretion as sovereign, you and all associated public officials, backup police enforcers, etc., are liable for any financial damages incurred and accrued per fee schedule herein and served to the private name and home address of the public office holder by notary. After bill is presented, payment in full is due on receipt for the total duress, trespass, detainment, and delay time or other damage inflicted upon the sovereign and secure party during any encounter with a police enforcer. Any unpaid and overdue balance that goes 30 days past due will be forwarded to a collection agency, and if not collected then, will be placed with a credit bureau and listed on your personal credit file. Notice of further actions. I claim that anyone who, after having been presented with and served this notice and demand, interferes with my free will and common law activities and rights and commits further unlawful transgressions, does not cease and desist at once to being a party to unlawful actions described herein, does not provide point-by-point rebuttal proof of claims within the required time frame of 30 days, or continues to ignore this notice and demand without reply or action, the following actions will commence in order and by due process. 1. Filing of a notice of default. 2. Immediate filing of commercial lien against all personal assets, land, and property of all involved private names of public office holders, WHO, or party to the unlawful activity described herein. 3. Immediate full disclosure of criminal activity on the public record and incident details made available to local and regional news media. 4. Potential loss of public office by person, s party to unlawful actions described herein. 5. Filing of criminal complaints, charges without immunity from your public office or other judicial official. Such immunity does not exist. 6. Potential fines and incarceration of the private individuals due to the serious nature of public officer holders, legal entities or corporate fictions, violating International Uniform Commercial Code by interacting with a natural flesh and blood man. Proof of service. By personal delivery. On __date __ I _ blank personally delivered this notice to police officer's name, blank, __ from, department, location, blank, ______. I also declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct and that this declaration was executed on blank date blank at blank city state blank __ secured party and the sovereign, natural free man of the land.
So there you have it right there, people. Some nuggets. That was some highway notice for the people. With that being said, I want y'all to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget y'all hoodies, t-shirts, backdrops. Stay tuned for what's coming new for Team MB. Remember, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. It's a we thing. We all got to be free. One step at a time. Nobody better than nobody. Money boy in the building. I'm feeling amazing.